Greetings, hunters. My name is David Tavares, and I'm lead game designer at OccupationalHazard LLC, a video game studio. Today I'd like to review the information Renegade Studios revealed about Hunter the Reckoning 5th Edition. First, we'll go over the World of Darkness dev blog. Then we'll review the revealed character sheet, along with some community-created character sheet variations. Those churned out pretty quick by some fantastic contributors. And finally, we'll talk about what else is to come and speculation of the future. So let's start with this dev blog, Hunter the Reckoning character sheet sneak peek. The lone hunter doesn't make it far. The odds are stacked against them. Despite being in the know about the supernatural threats that exist in the world of darkness, they don't have the individual power to go toe-to-toe with these various night-prowling monstrosities. Every now and then you hear about a lone hunter punching above their weight class in terms of taking down quarry, but these are practically legends, and probably exaggerated in the telling. In fact, let me tell you about this one time. No, never mind, I don't want to give you the wrong idea. Hunting alone is dangerous and often fatal. Hunters need their cellies. I imagine cellies is hunter slang for your cell, that being your group, your clique. Like in vampire, they have coteries. Werewolf, they have packs. Beyond safety in numbers and being able to bring multiple individuals to bear against the quarry, human contact with other people who know the awful truth is critical in staying grounded in the fight against the supernatural. Your wife may think you've gone too far when you spend all night in the car keeping tabs on the vampires. Your parents may think the stress of life and parenthood is getting to you, or your schoolmates might think you're having trouble separating reality from whatever it is you're talking about. Your fellow hunters in the cell, though, they know. They've seen it, and they stood by you when it happened. That sounds a lot like World of Darkness players. We can relate. It's too real. It's too real. That's also what separates you from the conspiracy theorists and the pundit-addled knuckleheads who let the cable news flax on television rile them. You've seen the things firsthand. You've witnessed the terrible truth about the presence of the supernatural, and now your cell are going to do something about it. You and your cell. That's right. Something that I like about this game design is it really puts you into it. World of Darkness is already relatable, being that it is our modern world and terrible things happen in the world, the real world. So, and like I said before, sometimes things can seem a bit too real, but with the fantasy of the World of Darkness, the fact that there's actually vampires around the corner, there's werewolves, there's all kinds of stuff, and one of the themes that they were talking about for Hunter was that things can be mysterious. Like, you might not know what it is. You might not be able to classify it as a vampire or werewolf. So it's just anything that you can, investigate and figure out what it is. I'll continue here. In Desperate Times, if you've gone over the character sheet, which has unlocked, you may have noticed that the hunter track a new trait, Despair. Being in despair means the hunter is in for some difficult times. I hope you are not surprised by this. Yeah, hunters are going to be in some desperate straits, which explains the despair. The despair field on the hunter character sheet is a toggle. Despair is a binary condition, and you're either affected by it or you're not. Let me see if I can find here. That's not it. I have these lined up. Okay, despair. Here's the hunter character sheet they were talking about. Started filling it out. Character's Apollo. His desire is homemade pie. See if you get that reference. Ambition is superstardom. See if you get that reference from something totally different. Cell Scooby Gang. Redemption. This is going to come up later in the information that they're giving to us. I don't know if Savior's a real one. Probably not. That's just a random guess. Here's the toggle of despair. It's either on or off. I imagine despair is analogous to maybe a vampire's humanity. But they chose to make it just like a toggle. That actually makes it pretty easy for the play session, because you're not calculating exactly what your number is. You're just like, am I in despair or am I not in despair? Am I, what would be the opposite of despair? Hope, hopeful. Maybe they're fighting and thinking that maybe there's just like a glimmer of light in the world of darkness, and that's what they're fighting for. Or they, go into total despair, and it's just like, I'm taking as many down with me as I can. Let's take a look at this character sheet a little more since it's already brought up here. So this will be touched on in a bit. Touchstones. But hunters also have touchstones. We've seen this in Vampire 5th edition. Touchstones for vampires help them maintain their humanity. So I imagine touchstones, probably this is speculation, help keep them from despair, perhaps. I'm wondering if touchstones can be your cellmates. Well, that sounds like you're in prison. Your cellies, maybe that's why they use that slang. Yeah, the rest of your cell, I'm wondering, since you are human, usually it's kind of unspoken, I think, in Vampire, but you're supposed to use humans as your touchstones. So I'm not sure if you fully consider a hunter just a normal human. Maybe they do have to be grounded completely in just, being in the dark about the supernatural. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out as time goes on and more is revealed. The rest of this character sheet looks pretty similar to V5. This part of the bottom, this is totally different. Instead of like disciplines, you have edges and perks. Now I noticed in the prior edition, not the prior edition, but the last reveal, this is an example of an edge, Beast Whisperer. And then it says Beast Whisperer perks. So it's got a list of other things. So I'm wondering if you get your edge and then maybe the perks you can buy one at a time, or if you get all the perks. I'm not entirely sure. I'd imagine it's the former. You probably get only a few of these at once. Like I filled in here, I said Beast Whisperer and then Incorruptible and Complex Commands. Well, they disappear if you click on them. I'm not sure how you're supposed to fill this out. It just looks like a standard grid here. It's almost like a spreadsheet. I don't know if you're supposed to put the edge here and maybe the perks on the side, or maybe you're just supposed to assume you have a certain number of perks. It seems very open to interpretation since it's just a bunch of blank fields. It looks like you also have, we're talking about touchstones, chronicle tenants. So there's probably something helping you stay out of despair. You probably have a code to live by. Other editions of Hunter had something similar to that. It's also something that you can find in Vampire, where you get tenants just like codes for the Chronicles. Creed fields, I have no idea what this is. I know what a creed is, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Previously, they unveiled the Inquisitive Creed. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, the Inquisitive. Now, I noticed that one of the things they are called is Visionaries. They're also called Sleuths and Sherlocks, but Visionaries was one of the old creeds, so I don't know if there's going to be much conversion. It doesn't sound like that. But speaking of which, let's move on with the blog here. In certain situations, a hunter can tap a reserve of power, expertise, or resolve, which the game represents in the form of Desperation Dice. So Desperation Dice, I imagine, are going to be like Hunger Dice. I don't know how you calculate the Desperation Dice yet, though. If anybody knows, please put it in the comments. As the tension of the hunt rises, so does desperation. And along with this, the number of Desperation Dice the hunter can call upon to fight the darkness. So it's almost seems like it's a power. Like if you're calling on the Desperation Dice to help you fight the darkness, I'm wondering if that is related to your edges. I'm not sure, like directly, or like which edge has a certain number of Desperation Dice, or if that's related to your creed. Maybe you have to be in a certain situation to use a certain number of Desperation Dice. The number seems to vary, but I'm not sure what it's based on. Depending on your hunter's creed, the situation in which the hunter can push themselves. So yeah, it looks like it's something to do with the creed and the situation. I don't know if there's some sort of matrix in the book showing like which creed in which situation gets the certain number of dice. That seems a bit complex, but maybe it's more simple than I'm making it out to be. A hunter in despair, though, loses touch with the drive. They're unable to push themselves that much harder via Desperation Dice. Quick note here. Notice that they use the keyword drive. Drive, I believe it's been changed to driving. That used to be a skill. because they're using the keyword drive as something that's mechanical to hunter. Not to be confused with driving. And coming out of despair requires certain accomplishments for the hunter to redeem themselves. For example, a hunter is motivated by vengeance, is currently in despair, must hurt the quarry directly or by proxy. I'm wondering if vengeance is the redemption or if that's just associated with the creed. If the cell is after a vampire, they might realize that this by injuring the vampire, by effectively sabotaging its lair, or by capturing one of its blood thralls. Lots of vampire examples, even in the prior reveal here. They talk about this creature, La Celestina, the bloody mannequin, which is confirmed and really sounds like a vampire. In all likelihood, the only reason they're using vampire examples is because that's what we have so far. We have Vampire V5, so that's what people are going to be the most familiar with. If they did a bunch of changeling examples, that might confuse people. They're like, is this a hunter versus changeling thing? But it's like, well, we have vampires. We've got a lot of information about them. They do talk about other creatures here. They do mention werewolves and some other creatures further down, but let's get to that. Mutual aid on the hunt. Again, they're talking about how you got to be gathered into cells. And that's where the other hunters in the cell are especially helpful. Individuals don't have to go it alone. Since the hunt is an endeavor the entire cell shares, pulling fellow hunters out of the depths for their singular despair is one of the benefits of having fellows by one's side. This is what I was wondering, if your cell counts as touchstones, if they count as maybe additional touchstone-like elements, or if that's totally separate. In game terms, any success by the cell as a whole in bringing that harm to the quarry counts for elevating that vengeance-seeking hunter out of despair. So quarry, they've said this word a couple times. That's just what you're hunting. What the topic at hand. Are you after a ghost? Are you after a werewolf? That's your quarry, your target, your hunter. You know, it's appropriate. Different drives have different conditions for redemption. See, this is what I was talking about before. I was wondering if vengeance counts as a redemption, because they were talking about how hunter motivated by vengeance is currently in despair. So I might be connecting the dots here. Maybe vengeance is a redemption. I'm not sure. Let me finish the sentence. And all of them can be satisfied by the collective cell, not just by the individual hunter. So I wonder if that means that if vengeance is my redemption, assuming vengeance is a redemption, that means because I'm present in the cell, vengeance is now an option to satisfy the drive for everybody, or just myself. Maybe they can help my vengeance, like if my cellmate kills my target, the quarry. If vengeance is my redemption, but not theirs, do we both get our despair lifted, or does that help my despair lift? We'll see. All of them could be satisfied by a collective cell, not just the individual hunter. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is critical because for hunters, the actual conflict with the quarry is only part of what they do, and it usually comes at the end of a lot of investigation and preparation. At least the hunter hopes it does. They don't want to liquidate the Inquisitive Quarry, and they don't want the quarry to learn about their investigation and confront them before they're ready. It's dangerous being a hunter because your hunting is an inimical to you as a human.
Inimical.
Yeah, that. So here's the chart that's been going around. The hunt activity ratio, figuring out what the quarry is and what they want. Information gathering, occult research, proving out theories, planning. That is 3/4 of this pie chart. Obviously, they don't literally mean 3/4 of the time you're going to be doing this. They just mean like the vast majority of your time. Figuring out how to deal with the quarry, meaning you're not dealing with the quarry yet. More occult research, learning habits, like actually observing, not just like investigating. Actually dealing with the quarry, the smallest part of the pie chart. So this looks like they're going for more of like a cinematic monster hunters, you know, like Supernatural TV show. Like most of the time, they weren't literally just battling the entire. It wasn't just an action show. They had to see that something was wrong, figure out what was going on, what was wrong. A lot of the times, they actually went to look in books and read about stuff, or even you'd look it up online or talk to people about it. That's all this. And then when they finally come across it, a lot of times there'd be an observation. You get your and then you have the actual dealing with the quarry, your Scooby-Doo reveal moment. Maybe you were wrong the whole time. Oh no, all of our preparation is for naught. But that's why you got to do a lot of preparation, is to have plan A, plan B, plan C. That's why this is a big part of the chart. And this is the verification stage. And this is the do or die. Emphasis on the die, because hunters don't necessarily live very long. Let's not forget about despair, though. Oh, who could have forgotten about despair? Hunters maintain a connection to the worlds through people whom they have an attachment. These are known as touchstones. If you've already played Vampire, you know all about touchstones. A hunter who has no touchstones is permanently in despair. Oh, that's sad. And even the cell can't do anything about it. Not even the cell can do anything about it, huh? So I guess that just means you need more touchstones. If you that's something I wish there was more information on in Vampire. Hopefully we can get some information on this in the Hunter book. I did not see a process in gaining touchstones other than, just roleplay it out. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm missing something, just say so in the comments. Without touchstones, a hunter is a loose cannon, likely lashing out against anyone or anything perceived as a threat, with nothing making the fight against the supernatural personal to them. So gear up, team up, and get ready to fuck up some of the nastiest creatures in the world darkness has hiding in the shadowy environs. Yeah. Let's do it. Who's ready to hunt? Anyway, you see this chart again. This is in the excerpt link. One thing about this excerpt, I'm not going to read through this whole thing. I'll just give a brief overview here since we're already pushing time here. This goes to page 28. And it starts on page 24. So I think this is actual cutout of the book, and I'm not sure this first one is. I think this might have been put together. Yeah, this is a core rulebook preview. This is put together as a preview. Notice it starts on page 1 and immediately goes to a splat type here, the Inquisitive. And then jumps after that. So this was put together separately as its own package. This is an actual cutout from the current edition of the book, I gather. I could be wrong about that, but it looks like it because of the page numbers. The chart's here again, so that's a real part of the game. It talks about everyone doing their part, and something here, a cell made up of individual members who are members of martial, entrepreneurial, and underground creeds. Wait, creeds? We only knew of one creed before this. The Inquisitive. So now we have martial, entrepreneurial, and underground. So I would like to show you this right here. Justin Achilles' Twitter. He is the World of Darkness creative director. Fantastic guy with a great sense of humor. So read closely and you'll learn 3 more of the 5 creeds. So I suggest following Justin Achilles because he always has little details that he sprinkles in there. 5 creeds. 5. So martial, entrepreneurial, underground, we just learned about that. We already knew about Inquisitive. That's 4. So unless I'm wrong, there's one more that is unrevealed. We can guess what that might be, but unless somebody knows, put it in the comments if you do. Here are some guesses that, I have no chance of being correct, but I've got 3 guesses for you. So you got martial. Those are like combat types, like they go in, guns blazing, still researching, but they want, they get the right type of gun and then they go blazing. Entrepreneurial, I have no idea what that is. I could guess, maybe they're deep into preparation, try to make an infrastructure so that hunters have like a network that they can actually deal with these monsters, that kind of thing. Build up infrastructure, maybe spend money on making like bases of operations and safe houses. I don't know. None of that might be true, but that with that name, entrepreneurial, which if you know how to spell it, then there you go. You're one up on me. I always have to look twice. And underground seems more stealthy, staying out of the light. So we have the Inquisitive, which are the researchers, very mental based. You have the Marshal, very physical based. The underground are like super stealthy, entrepreneurial, maybe a little social. So maybe there's another social creed. I was thinking maybe negotiator. Now, you're not going to spend a lot of time necessarily talking directly to a monster, but you may be talking to their victims. And when you do talk to a monster, in fact, that might be the way you get rid of it. Just be like, can you leave? You know? Or can we offer you something better than just murdering all the children in the town? You know, like, we can just give you goats. That's fine. It's also a good way to distract a monster. Or, you know, like talk, pay attention to me while my hunter group sneaks behind you. Or it could just be a way of, you know, gaining information about how to fight another monster. Maybe you make a deal with their enemy, rival vampires. Just be like, hey, this vampire's wreaking havoc in our town. I heard that you're a law enforcement for vampires. Maybe they're breaking a rule of yours because I'm letting you know that they're making it very obvious. That might have make the problem magically go away, and then the follow-up probably will be the hunter magically going away. But you know, you can one step at a time. Another guess, I was thinking about supernatural, and they're always on the road. Maybe you're a traveler. That might step on the underground creed idea. But you know, there's a lot to be said for that. And my third guess is maybe it's a callback to an older hunter creed. Maybe there's like a religious hunter creed that stops at nothing to fight. Maybe another physical one, because there's only one physical one so far. So I was thinking maybe the martyr, one that's based less in like guns ablaze and more like holy faith and sacrifice, that kind of thing. Speaking of which, let's look at what creeds used to be. So this is the prior edition of Hunter the Reckoning, which is vastly different. It wasn't about despair and redemption, although there are redeemers as a creed. They had virtues: mercy, vision, and zeal. You could see zeal as maybe being the martial, like, catch-all. They had avengers, judges, defenders. Mercy had innocents, martyrs, redeemers. And the Vision Creed was interesting because initially you only had visionaries. Hermits and Waywards weren't really supposed to be playable, but some people did anyway. Waywards kind of like, they went way off the deep end. They were the ones who went a bit too far, and Hermits were kind of alone, so they didn't quite work with a hunter cell necessarily. But of course there was always exceptions. So you had these 9 creeds, and we have 5 creeds. None of which match up directly with these. As I said earlier, Visionaries was a side name for the Inquisitive, so there might be something to that. Maybe of the 5, you'll have, maybe one will be called Martyrs, maybe Innocents. Maybe that, I mean, Innocence seems like the only one that sort of had like stealth powers, so maybe that's the Underground. I'm not sure. Or Redeemers, they could be underground. Maybe Avengers. Avengers Assemble. They could be the martial ones. I'm not sure. I don't know which one entrepreneurials would fall under here. Judges, maybe. Redeemers, I'm not sure. So basically what I'm saying is there doesn't seem to be a one-to-one conversion here. It doesn't seem that the power set of the old creeds is going to translate over to H5. Along with their symbols. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm wrong there, but it doesn't seem like that so far. Maybe we'll learn more about that in the book. Maybe there was an event. Gehenna came. Ragnarok. And changed everything. This is talking more about companionship and how cells work together. who is the quarry, talking about how they fight the supernatural. So here's an interesting sentence. Number of ways the supernatural will distort an unprepared humanity for its purposes is practically limitless. So they're saying, like, you can throw the book at them if you're the storyteller. Like, just make something up and run with it. Turning new vampires, spreading lycanthropy, that's interesting. Or fostering incomprehensible secret societies are only how they make more of themselves. Spreading lycanthropy. Now, if you know werewolf lore, that's generally not the way it works, but that'd be really cool if there was a way to do that in werewolf. Or at least in the hunter variant of werewolf. Is the core supernatural? That's another interesting thing. Is like, what if you're hunting other hunters? What if you fighting hunters that have gone too far? Or they've already made it quite clear that Second Inquisition type of hunters do exist here, but they're normally antagonists. They call them the orgs, the organized hunters. They don't have drives. They have their own set of skills. Rather than holding on to that shred of hope, they follow, this is my own word, dogma. Like, they have rules. That's how they stay out of, I guess, what you'd call despair. I don't know if Second Inquisition hunters could technically fall into despair. I mean, other than literally. I mean, I fall into despair all the time, you know. Whenever I hear that Bloodlines 2 won't be, no information about Bloodlines 2, despair state. That's a joke. I'm not that crazy. I swear I'm not. What does the quarry want? This is all about the research and stuff. I love the orange tint. It definitely adds to it. Like the way that the vampire book has the red. I pointed to the book as if you could see it. It's out of my reach at this moment. What are the quarry's habits? So this is more research. Who else knows? Unwanted attention. Allies and assholes. I wanted to talk about assholes. These orgs that I just mentioned. So far, the information we have about these orgs comes from the Vampire Supplement, Second Inquisition. It does directly reference this Special Affairs Division, SAD. So this is actually a great tool for storytellers. If you want to help guide along hunters without making it look like they're being helped too much, is these orgs can come in and say, like, look, I want you to take care of this threat. And your hunter group would be like, why don't you take care of it? It's be like, it's your community. I don't want to waste resources. And obviously I'm going to blame you for anything that goes wrong. After you kill the werewolves, for example, I'll just say, you know, we isolated a terrorist cell and took them all out. And keep your mouth shut or you'll go to jail for murdering people. What choice do you have at that point? You know, like, you don't want your community to die. You can't fight, like, a multinational conglomerate of paramilitary services, so you're just like, fine, if you'll give me minimal support. They're like, maybe. You know, you'll work it out. You'll work it out. That's it here. You go ahead and read this. It's a nice little excerpt. As I was saying, it looks like it is from the book. So we already talked about the prior... What else did I want to go over? Oh, yeah, character sheet. So this is the primary character sheet. Two contributors developed their own character sheet. The first one I saw was this one from Nerdbert. Please look him up, follow him on Twitter, and check out all of these fine resources on his link tree. I'll put his link tree in the description. Right here, you can find the World of Darkness character sheets. Here is his version of the character sheet. It's a little different, a little flashier. He put despair on the bottom. He put a nice stain there. I like that. Edges and perks are on the bottom, just like the original. I'll pull up the original again, so side by side. Generally formatted that way. This is more cleaned up in the formatting, the pictures, the images, which I really like. It looks really nice. It even has the Dark Pack logo down there for his contribution. Are the second pages relatively the same? Yeah, they're relatively the same. This is a lot cleaner, though. I don't think it's interactive as of yet. Maybe that will be coming. I noticed that the original one is only somewhat... Like, I expected these to be check marks. They're actually to put little X's in here for the health and willpower. Despair toggles nicely. These toggle pretty nicely. I mean, most of these interactive ones do this where you can like put a dot in the middle, which I think is a little weird, but that's not a problem. Just don't do that. Yeah, everything else seems to work. These don't have drop downs, so I don't get any information. You just have to type in. So the other person who made a character sheet is, the illustrious Mr. Gone, who's been doing this forever, as far back as I've been playing the game. Well, maybe not that far back, but I mean, that was like 95 when I started. I don't know when he started, but it's pretty soon after that. By the 2000s, he definitely was making these character sheets for sure. He's made character sheet for everything. Of course he has. In fact, he made a custom character sheet for me because I was working on a Unbound V5 video game. So I wanted a landscape version so I can visualize it and see how I can put the character sheet into a video game. He created that one too. But this Hunter the Reckoning 5th edition character sheet, notice he still even has the 1st edition. This is his version. It's a bit more like the V5. So it's more probably what you'd be familiar with if you've been playing that game. He had his own... Is that the same? Yeah, it is the same font. It's black and white, it looks like. But it's interactive, just like the official one. But if you notice, the edges and perks are on this side rather than taking up the entire bottom. Health and willpower is put to this side so that it's not just on top. Honestly... Let's see. Yeah, I think this is a weird position for the health and willpower. Maybe I would get used to it. It just seems weird to be sandwiched between the two types of dots. It kind of offsets this, makes it, I don't know. You see, this is nice and aligned. Yeah, this is the other version, Nerdbert's version, that is. They're nice and aligned. These are also nice and aligned. This might be a little weird of a spot, but I like it. And I like that you can also fit the Chronicle Tenets, Touchstones, and Creeds here. I bet somebody probably could make a one-pager, though. Generally I find possessions, notes, biography, and the weapon experience you got. I find all of this somewhat optional, but your background's merits and flaws are not. So you probably could make a version, and I'm not telling you, Mr. Gone, or Nerdbert. I'm just generally pontificating here about how this could be done, because there's a lot of edge and perks. I don't know if a hunter's already going to have 8 edge and perks right away. I'm not even sure how many go on this page. Actually, that's interesting, because this is just a grid, but this version has them like in little blocks listed, so I'm wondering if he knows something I don't. Because there's a top line, and then there's little sublines. I'm wondering if my speculation was correct, that you get the individuals. I'm not sure what the second line is for. Maybe the amount of perk? I don't know. I might have missed something, it's true. Cell, Drive, Creed, Ambitious, and Redemption. It looks like that's slightly in a different order, which I'm not sure that's an issue. But I would take these, which I consider crucial and necessary, and maybe put up here. I think maybe 4 blocks would be enough. I don't know. I'm speculating once again. To make a 1-page. Although experience might be good to have too. Stick that somewhere. I don't know. It's not my forte. I'm not a designer in that way. But I have talked quite long enough about this, so let me put us on to the future. The Day Shift, Hunter the Reckoning, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. PST at twitch.tv/playrenegade. This is an amazing cast. I've had Diana D'Amico on my own show before, playing Vampire. She's amazing. She's the best. And I'm familiar with most of the rest of this cast, and they're amazing people as well. If Renegade trusts them on their channel, that means that they are the top cream of the crop. I'm definitely watching this and commentating on it and see if I can get any little crumbs of information about Hunter the Reckoning. I love this game. I love playing Hunter. I played the previous Hunter the Reckoning game. I've played Hunter the Vigil, which is the Chronicles of Darkness version. I see a lot of that feeling of Hunter the Vigil in this Hunter the Reckoning game. There's no one-to-one conversion, but to me it feels more like Hunter the Vigil than it does Hunter the Reckoning so far. My opinion on that might change. We shall see. Let's see, what else is in the future? I'm making video games. That's total segue. But if I bring this up, this is the character sheet I was just talking about that Mr. Gon was helping me out with. This is just a little preview. This Unreal Engine 5. Trying to make this under Dark Pact. This is just like a shameless plug for my current project. Yeah, for the Unbound program, I'm going to submit to it. It's going to be a CRPG, but yeah, I'm showing you this little one screen to show you like how detailed I want to get into this. Obviously, this doesn't really show you much, but my character sheet, I just talked about how I'd like a 1 page, but mine's taking 6 pages to make my character, and this is just one of the pages that I'm just starting to put together. Other than that, yeah, I'm definitely watching this The Day Shift. If I can get rid of... There we go. Day Shift. Right here. Be there. I know I will. So, hunters, good hunting. Hope you get that quarry. Goodbye.